Omari Hardy.
Said, my name is Omari Hardy, and I'm running to represent District 2 on the Lake Worth City Commission. To give you a little information about myself, I am 27 years old. I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I went to St. Thomas Aquinas High School. Then I went to the University of Miami for college. I majored in economics and minored in philosophy. Go Canes, and then I graduated in 2012, and I've been living here for almost 3 years now. I'm also a teacher. I teach civics and world history at Roosevelt Community Middle School. Education is the family business for me. I'm a fourth-generation educator going all the way back to my great-grandmother, and there's nothing more that I love to do than to educate young folks about our magnificent civic traditions here in the United States, and we're all contributing to that tonight. And I thank you for that, and I think the city should at least thank you for that. Now, why am I running? So I think it's true of all of us here that we love the city. We would like to see its government work better for the residents who live here. But as a civics teacher, I have somewhat of a unique perspective on what it means for government to work well. I have to explain government and why it's important and what it's doing to 11 and 12-year-olds. And so I have to make it very basic for them because they're conversant in Snapchat, but they're not conversant in the separation of powers until they come into Mr. Hardy's class, at least. So the first thing I do is that I point out the government's role in keeping us safe. From people who want to harm us or from people who want to take the things that we work hard for, and that's something that they understand. I also talk about the government's role in providing us with infrastructure that works. I'm talking about roads, I'm talking about sidewalks, I'm talking about bridges and things like that. And these two things, I believe, are the two most basic goods that a government could possibly provide, especially local government. If your local government isn't keeping you safe, if it isn't providing you with a well-functioning infrastructure, then what exactly is it doing? And unfortunately, in Lake Worth, we've been asking that question for a very long time because we haven't been able to come up with an answer, and it's because our government is failing us. And the proof is really in putting Neighborhood Scout has us ranked as the 34th most dangerous city in the United States of America. That makes us the 4th most dangerous city in the state and the 2nd most dangerous city in the county, second only to Riviera Beach. And by the way, this ranking does not factor in violent crime. You know, we know that there's rampant prostitution and drug use, and we know that these things stigmatize our community and make it harder for people to want to make that investment in Lake Worth. And you know, that isn't even factored in those rankings. So we know we stay in there, and it's not in a good place. In addition to that, if we want to look at our infrastructure situation here in Lake Worth, in 2016, ADA Construction did a survey, and that survey told us that 22% of our neighborhood roads were in poor, serious, or failing condition. So certainly we can do a lot better in these two areas. And if I'm elected, those are going to be the things that I focus on. I think that the path to success in Lake Worth requires first and foremost that we pare down our focus and concentrate on solving these fundamental issues. So if I'm elected, I'm going to make sure that we get off of that most dangerous cities in America list and get on that most safe cities in America list. I'm also going to make sure that we have an infrastructure that befits our place in one of the wealthiest counties, not only in the United States, but in the world. And then the other thing that I'm going to focus on is making sure that we attract some measure of adequate business investment here to the city. Because long term, we shouldn't have to pay for these things by borrowing money, which is a divisive issue in our community, and I can understand why. We shouldn't have to beg the county and state government for funds to take care of basic issues. So those are the things that I'm going to do if I'm lucky enough to be elected. I'm going to provide the kind of focused and disciplined leadership that our city needs if we're going to get out of the rut that we're in and you know, really ignite the renaissance that I think we all want here in Lake Worth. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions after the
Mary, you figured it out, didn't you?
That didn't take a brain scientist. Hi, I'm Mary Ann Pelisi, and I'm a candidate for District 4 Commissioner. Thank you all so much to Parrot, Cove Neighborhood Association and to the Beach Club for having all the candidates here to listen to our views and to what we want the city to have in the future. I am 59 years old. I am a widow. We have a beautiful daughter together. She's 24 years old. She lives in New Smyrna Beach. My key to success for City Commissioner is my vision, focus, and political will. I will be an effective advocate for all citizens of Lake Worth, and when I say all, I mean all, not segregated. The foundation of all leadership is integrity, to care, engage, relate, and I never stop learning. I vow to do all of this if I am elected. Lake Worth deserves stable leadership that treats all residents with dignity. I have a lot of history with the city. I have lived in Lake Worth for 36 years. I have a passion for politics. I have served 2 terms as South Park Neighborhood Association President, 2 terms as Treasurer before that. I have served as Director before that. I have served as Chairman for the Recreation Advisory Board in Lake Worth. I have served as Vice Chair for the Sister City Board in Lake Worth. I am currently on the Lake Worth Historical Society Board. I have volunteered for numerous things in Palm Beach County and have won numerous awards for that. I'm very excited to say that I did win the Palm Beach County Adult Volunteer Year Award. Out of 37,000 people, I was awarded for the most volunteer hours in 1 year. I was very excited for that. And a semi-retired private consultant with a focus on nonprofit fundraising. I was Vice President of Operations at Surgical Healthcare, where I established and managed all practices and procedures in compliance with all governmental regulations. I was also a film and TV actress, which I kind of piddle around with now and then, but that's not my main focus. The reasons I am running are many. We need more parking downtown. We need more parking at the beach. We need more parking on Dixie Highway. I will work with the CRA to get Dixie and Federal Highway beautified, more parking, and by working with Code to get the buildings regulated. The layout of downtown is a gem. We still need to work by bringing sustainable growth, help promote our businesses. Crime is a problem everywhere, and PBSO is doing a fabulous job. I still do not like to see women on the street and drug dealers. However, I realize that goes hand in hand with the sober homes and the drug culture. And that goes with the sober homes. I feel that everybody has everybody has somebody in their family, friends, or somebody that has a problem with drugs or alcohol. And they do need help, but they need the correct help. They cannot be placed in a sober home that is not FARR approved and unregulated. They do not belong in our neighborhoods. My vow is to work with the Heroin Task Force to get them all FARR approved. Okay, operate. When the sober homes came, they did not look at the overall picture. The pill mills were shut down, and hence the sober homes came. So I'm really hoping that the task force looks at that overall picture. Homelessness, it's a huge issue. We have the true homeless that I care deeply for. I wish that we could build something out west of town and to help them have their identity, have their name known to people, get their life back together. The criminal homeless need to be taken care of accordingly. I want to work side by side with code enforcement to bring code up to date with the problems that face the city. I want to work with Compass to make sure their needs are met and invite them to group meetings. Our millage rate is very high for the services that we get. I feel that as taxpayers, we deserve the services that we get. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, guys. We're going to move on to our 2 questions. We'll start with the first one. You're going to have 2 minutes for each one, and then Deb will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. Residents have voiced concern about the following as having a significant negative impact on quality of life in Lake Worth. Drug use and trafficking, blighted areas, open prostitution, especially on Federal and Dixie, a seemingly disproportionately high number of vagrants per capita, What is your feeling on this? And what do you plan to do as a city commissioner to combat them? First up, right back to Mary Ann.
Thank you, that's a great question. I, for one, see this every day where I live on South Federal Highway, Highway. I call the non-emergency phone number all the time. I feel that it brings our neighborhood down. Our property taxes need to go up. PBSO is doing their job, and it just needs to be corrected. It's not being corrected though, and I feel that there is something that we can do. If elected as commissioner, I vow to ride with PBSO and the Heroin Task Force to take care of these problems. They do not belong in our streets, they do not belong in our neighborhoods, and they do not belong in the front of stores. I totally agree with the fact that the stores have, that the commissioners did enact a 10 o'clock p.m. deadline for alcohol sales. It has cut down on many vagrants sitting in front of stores. I think that's a great idea that they did. In terms of the selling drugs, I was behind somebody yesterday, stopped in the middle of Federal Highway and exchanged drugs. I took a picture, snapped it, emailed it to a sheriff. They were on them in 1 minute and they did the rest. So I was very grateful for that. We have a phenomenal PBSO department, and all you have to do is make that call and the problem will be solved, hopefully. Thank you.
Christopher McVoy.
Thank you. Could you just, in the words, not the whole question, but the topics I heard? Thank you.
Certainly. The 4 points were drug use and trafficking, blighted areas, open prostitution, especially on Federal and Dixie, a seemingly disproportionately high number of vagrants per capita.
Okay. Some of those are related, some of them are not. The drug use, drug selling, and prostitution, from what I hear regularly from PBSO and Captain Bear and Captain Silver before him, is they're very tied. And I think it doesn't, the model that they tell me that makes sense to me is when you have a large population of folks that are coming down from the Northeast for these not so scrupulous sober homes, you've got a built-in market for people who need drugs and need prostitution. So one of the pieces is focus on the sober homes. Boynton Beach, as you well know, issued they started with, they did it in several steps. They said, we're going to study our zoning to figure out how it works with these sober homes. And then, since we have a study going, we think we have legal basis to do a moratorium. Caused quite a bit of concern in other communities around here. There's no reason that we shouldn't be as aggressive on this as other communities. Yes, we understand the legal constraints, but the time for letting this go on, all of us read the Palm Beach quotes and know that this is not the most uplifting set of folks that are running these things. So work on that will help. It won't cure the prostitution, it won't cure the drug sales, but it'll certainly make a dent in both of those. The other ones with blighted areas, that one, I think probably, it's very much of a challenge. What I'm seeing as I go around the cities, I'm seeing a lot of renovation of homes that were in not good shape before. So some of it is happening naturally. It's not something the city can go around and redo, however many homes we have. You need to have increasing economic conditions, which we're doing. The country is getting better, our finances here are. So that's happening some on its own, but code enforcement has been a headache for me from the get-go. Worst first is what needs to happen. I don't know if Karen Ryan is in the room. Yes, there you are. She and I have been following one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. William Joseph.
One more time, my name is William Joseph, like what I just said. In order to get a result of this, like myself as a private detective, I was a senior investigator in the city. That's why I work very close with PBSO. I know the problem, and you know the problem. Now is not the time to review to take over and over every year. It's a time for you as a citizen, as a resident, to put hands together to get the job done. PBSO, I think, is doing a very good job. Only one thing we need, if I'm elected, since I'm here to win, we need to make sure to get more undercover. Soon as people know we have one undercover working out, to trust them. It's my job. We can make a change, we can make it better. Remember the message I just passed this afternoon? Change. We need the real change for the city of Lake Cove. That's why we have many people leaving from Lake Cove or elsewhere. But I'm here to make sure to work very close, more closely with PBSO, like I started to do, to make sure to bring those people back. We're going to have a better city, a nice city that everybody can live in. The city of Lake Cove is a very small city. It's a beautiful city. If you guys give me your support, then you can count on me. And then I'll make sure to give you what you deserve. Thank you.
Herman Robbins.
They're all tied together. We're all in this together. I think the Sheriff's Department, our neighbors, and individually have to take responsibility. The government, city government, which is Cove, and the building department, and the commissioners have to take responsibility. We have to work together, and if you see it happening, you need to address all those people to let them know that it's happening. I think everybody here knows right from wrong, and we can address the narrative of our city if we believe that we are better than just seeing somebody on the street that doesn't look like us. Doesn't mean that they're a criminal, but if they are sleeping in the street, you need to notify the authorities. I hold the sheriff's responsible. I hold myself and our neighbors responsible for all those issues. So it's not simple, but if we're not doing our part, then it's not going to happen.
Ellie Whitty.
I stepped out of my home the other morning. I live directly across the street from Bryant Park at the north end, 31 South Gulfview, right by the Gulfstream Hotel. And I walked out my back door, my neighbor's there, and he goes, "Ellie, look." And there's a man in a blanket in the parking lot. This was the other day. And sure enough, PBSO pulls up. It's 2 days ago. A week ago, a young lady was walking down that alleyway. I thought she was naked. She wasn't. She was in a bikini with cowboy boots. I thought she had a fight with a boyfriend. And she was leaving, sashaying down. No. Turns out I took her photo. They know her as a prostitute. This is behind my house. This is at Bryant Park. We have a PBSO officer, and we have neighborhood watch, and we have everything. It's not working, folks. Whatever plan that has been put into use, it's not working. We need a new set of eyes and a new pair of ears to shake things up.
Omari Harden.
Okay, it's a short amount of time to deal with all of those issues, but I think the Commission has, to its credit, done some things to address some of the issues that were in the question. The first thing that they did was that they essentially made a prohibition on selling packaged alcohol after 10 p.m. It's gone a long way towards cleaning up a lot of the convenience stores, which had turned into makeshift bars by a lot of people who maybe wouldn't go into an actual far. The other thing that the commission has done is that they have added 5 deputies to the unit that we have with PBSO. And that's a wonderful thing. We're seeing the deputies on patrol. It's really improved not only the public safety situation here, but it's improved the perception of the city as a safe one. I don't think that the commission has gone far enough in that direction. So what I'm proposing is a law enforcement surge here in Lake Worth. We have not enough officers for the population that we have. And if you do the math, we need about 15 additional deputies to get ourselves to the right officer per civilian ratio. So that's why I'm proposing that within the next 6 years, we get 15 additional deputies so that we can blanket the city so that you guys can see them in the neighborhoods on patrol. That's incredibly important. And the other thing is, as regards to the drug use, the sober home issue drives a lot of that. And it's a really complicated issue. I was at the Scottish Rites building when Assistant DA Alan Johnson was there educating us on the issue. And there are things that we can do here at the local level with reasonable accommodations, and also making sure that code enforcement is doing their job and not citing people for violent offenses, but going after people who operate sober homes outside of the law here. And in addition to that, we can continue to put pressure on our state, county, our state, and our federal elected officials to make sure that they understand how dire the situation is, not only here, but all throughout Palm Beach County and all throughout South Florida generally. So those are the things that I think we can do to improve the situation on the things that were in the question. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And our last question. One of the most considerable issues facing the residents of Lake Worth is the rapid proliferation of transitional living facilities, otherwise known as sober homes, within the residential neighborhoods. It's acknowledged that people need opportunities for treatment and be safe while receiving this treatment. Residents have voiced concern over a high concentration of these group homes and the destabilizing effects of the high turnover rates of the residents. Within your powers as City Commissioner, what can you say you will do to control this? Okay, we're going to start with Ellie Whitty.
Thank you, Anthony. David Arenberg is our district attorney, and he has a task force. And I've been talking to him and reading, and the bottom line, and I brought it with me, I brought his 15 points. I was going to hand it out to everyone. We need to call our state representatives. We need to call, we as the voters need to call. They hit us so hard, and so many of them, we were not prepared. It's not just us here in Lake Worth. It is a problem throughout the entire state. They're sending people down here. There's everything from the internet misconception of where they're sending, the free rent that they're offering people. It's so misleading. And as David, this is too high for me, and as David has said, contact your state representative. And not just yours, call them all. Tell them we need to change the laws. We can't do it. We could try to do what Boynton Beach has done, but then Boca Raton was hit with $1 million lawsuit. It's a very precarious walk to walk in. You have to be very careful with this. Otherwise, I'm sure our commissioners would have done it already. I'm certain you would have done it already if you could. I hope you would have done it. Because this is not going to be taken care of in a month, and it's not going to be taken care of in 3 months. It's going to take a while. Meanwhile, what can we do? Nuisance. Make those phone calls. We can close these homes, have the police there constantly. If you see something suspicious, make that call. It is going to be up to us. Someone said, Ellie, why would we be the police? Because if you care, then you must make the phone call. We have to stop this together. Oh, if it's time, it's time.
Herman Robinson.
I've been to the task force meetings with Dave Ehrenberg's people, and the wheels of government are frustratingly slow. But what we can do is, in terms of reasonable accommodations, if there's more than 4 people sleeping in a one-bedroom house, we've got issues that we should be able to address just through code and building department. It's an insurance issue, it's a handicap protected issue. I don't know what the real answer is, except vigilance on the homes that we recognize as sober homes.
William Joseph.
In order to make a result with that, we need 3 things. We need integrity, passion, and wisdom. I remember the last time I received a phone call from Haiti. My mom been sick, and she had to go to the hospital. I feel shocked. I cannot go over there. It's not because I don't want to, but the time was impossible for us. I have to work, I have to do this and that. It's better for me to send something instead of going. Those people need to be, have a conscience to know if it was my mom or my dad, I'm not going to treat them like this way. A resident needs to have a fair treatment. Like it was your kids or your, whatever it is, or your member of your family. We need to have some kind of security or undercover permanently inside of this building to make sure that as soon as you catch one or you get 2, the rest is going to be making it better. If I become a commissioner, with your support, and I will make sure my first or 2, or my 2 years as a commissioner, and I will make sure that you guys are going to come to me, straight to me, and say, okay, William, thank you so much, because you get the job done.
Christopher McCoy.
This is an issue that I find quite painful in that I get calls regularly from people who've lived in Lake Worth, raised kids here, lived here for 20, 30 years, and they're telling me, I'll take the first offer of cash and move out of town because of what's going on, even knowing that I might be selling my house to a future sober home. And people are torn about it. They're very torn about it for their loyalty to the city and for willing to get out. Here's the thing. I think the answers that you've heard all danced around. And the reason they danced around is that we are very constrained by federal laws and state laws, but mostly federal. HIPAA, American Disabilities Act, give protections that limit greatly what communities can do. There's been interaction through Lois Frankel and others with the federal level. The Department of Justice came down, offered a letter. They took quite a while in preparing and so on. They did not say that they would support the kind of lawsuits that Boca got hit with $5 million for violating some of those laws when they tried to regulate. It is challenging. However, there are things that can be done if one is careful. I'm a little hesitant to talk about it because I don't want to open ourselves up to lawsuits. But if one goes about procedure, and I've been cautioned by our attorneys on that, if one goes about procedures that apply to all facilities in Lake Worth that rent and not discriminating against sober homes, there are things that you can do. And keeping track of them is an obvious first start, both with your interactions with the insurance companies, with PBSO, with EMT. Be collecting that data. That's a start. It's not the only solution. Pressure on the insurance companies is very important. They're starting to turn. I think we're seeing through PBSO that the task force is certainly getting more aggressive. My personal feeling is that this problem we are going to get better. I feel much better about it now than I did 6 months ago. But it's going to be challenging.
Thank you. Sober homes there's quite a few things that we have to be very careful with. Boynton Beach and Boca Raton have taken the action for a moratorium on that. One city is being sued right now for $5 million. I can understand our city council right now not wanting to pursue that until they see what happens with the other city. I would fully agree with them on that. I would not want to see a huge lawsuit against the city. That would be a disaster. Along with the ADA, we have to also be very careful in the way we handle these people. We cannot go to them. What we have to do is we have to call code, and we have to also make a report of PBSO. I have personally shut down 3 sober homes myself by calling code, taking pictures, calling PBSO, and writing down everything I see. And I would continue to do that as commissioner. And I think it's very important to know that working with code, that you will get somewhere by doing this. The main issue is that you have to catch them. Even if they have a pool and they leave the gate open, you can call code on that. There's certain issues that are not going to be related to an actual disease. I cannot stand the fact when I hear the ambulance coming down my street. I live on South Palmway, and it breaks my heart when I hear the ambulances come. It truly does. And I really hope that in the future that the moratoriums can be taken serious and that we will go with the flow and be able to take on the moratoriums as long as the other city does not get sued. Thank you.
So, while it seems like we have precious few tools to deal with this issue, we should use the tools that we have to tackle it, and it starts with code enforcement. First off, code enforcement isn't coordinating with PBSO well, or with Palm Beach Fire Rescue well. If there are 3 overdoses at the same residence, then code enforcement should know about it, and we should use code enforcement as our arm for fighting this issue. And while sober homes may be protected by the ADA, the activities, many of them illegal, are not protected by the ADA, and we can use code enforcement to figure out what's happening there. The other thing that we can do is reasonable accommodations, which again goes to code enforcement. If there is, as Herman said, 6 grown male individuals living in a home that's 2 bedroom, 1 bath, then there's something code enforcement can do about that. So we have to get some new ordinances on the book here. The other thing, and this, it might be frustrating that this is something that we have to do, but we are a local government. We don't have many tools to fight the heroin epidemic. We don't have many tools to make sure that people aren't patient brokering. But sober homes is centered around an